Today is a big day, chat. It's Monday, it's International Talk Like a Pirate Day, and it's the day that we'll be talking about the Leagues of Votann, or the Leagues of Brocan, as most people are calling them. This is a brand new faction to Warhammer 40,000. Please, take me seriously. It's just the day, right? It's just a national holiday, international holiday. Okay? Talk like a pirate, right? Listen, I've got a lot to say. Here we go. A lot of people are talking about this. It's a brand new faction to Games Workshop, which hasn't had to happen in like a while since they released a brand new faction, right? And everyone's talking about this because Games Workshop decided to run them against 3 really shite factions, and they smashed them on their Warhammer Plus series. And everyone is going, wow, look, a new faction, they're so cool. But the reason people are talking about this mostly is because, much like most other factions that come out in 40k and have had a new codex, they are pretty busted on paper. And whether this plays out is, well, only time will tell, because no one's really played proper Votann in tournaments or games yet, because it's all been on TTS and etc. and just lots of theory crafting. But it's pretty safe to say that every time we get a faction that can stack multiple rules on top of each other and then have a really broken army-wide bonus, such as the judgment tokens that are featured in this book, it's always a recipe for disaster in competitive 40k. So if you're buying these for the rules, hopefully we'll see some nerfs, so you are left with a pile of crap. But if you're buying these for the cool models because you really like them, then go right ahead. Just be aware that if you're trying to play to win, then hopefully it's going to be a short-lived experience. That's what kind of everyone's hoping. So, but the thing is with Leagues of Votann is that they have like a pretty good, like a pretty strong, like pretty ridiculous army-wide buff under the judgment tokens. So very briefly, if you have a judgment token which you can gain by doing an action, doing a psychic action, or killing a Votann unit, you gain a judgment token. Now the trick is that these have weapons that on a 6 to wound, you get cool things such as the Magna Rail Rifle or the Magna Rail Cannon that ignores invulnerable saves and damage spills over just like it would do in AOS, where if you do D6, 2d3 plus 6 damage, you roll it and then you apply that many wounds to the unit, much like mortal wounds, until you run out of damage or run out of models first, and usually it's the latter. Now, when you roll a 4 to hit with 3 judgment tokens, because of the judgment tokens, a 4 to hit would automatically wound. And then it automatically counts as a 6 to wound, so that would go off as well. So you would automatically roll a 4 to hit, and then that would count as a 6 to wound, even though you only rolled 1 dice. And then you do all this damage on top. And it just gets a little bit obnoxious because there's multiple ways you can give out judgment tokens. And that is kind of like, on paper, the strongest thing about this book is the way that you can stack judgment tokens very easily. There's a chapter trait or a league trait in this. If you have a judgment token, they count it as 1 higher, so you're always hitting on 5s and automatically wounding. That's the pretty bullshit stuff that's on paper. But the problem is with this is that the judgment token system is very, very strong, but then all of the data sheets are also very strong, and all of the stratagems are very strong, and all of the warlord traits are pretty strong, and all of the relics are pretty good. Well, most of the relics are pretty good, and all the psychic powers, they're all actually pretty good as well. Can't really find any downside stuff in here. There's like no units that are like, that is really shit, that's a really bad unit, because all of them are really good, you know. And it gets better. It gets better because, like, as a lot of people have noticed, is the Votann have a lot of hunter type weapons, which is a new weapon type, which is basically neutral. Autok pattern combi bolter is range 24 inch, hunter 4, strength 4 -1 damage. And that's fine. The hunter doesn't actually do anything. But the problem is with the hunter not actually doing anything to bonus, there's actually no downsides to this weapon. If the Autok pattern combi bolter was a rapid fire weapon, it'd probably be like rapid fire 2, strength 4 -1 damage, which would be fine. But you only get 4 shots if you're within 12 inch range, whereas this is 4 shots all the time. And then there's hunter weapons in the Hearthkin Warriors, which is your troop unit, such as the L7 missile launcher, which is a hunter weapon, meaning it's better than a normal missile launcher that a space marine can have, but you don't suffer the -1 to hit either, because it's a hunter weapon, and hunter doesn't suffer the -1 to hit. Only heavy do, and there's no real good heavy weapons in this book because they're all hunter type. Now that's the thing. It's like all of these weapons, again, hunter does nothing, but it also has no downsides. The downside is you can't advance and shoot. Yeah, but yeah, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that you can't advance and shoot because there's no downside to the weapon. That's not a downside that you can't advance and shoot because fucking no one can advance and shoot with a missile launcher. No one can usually move and shoot with a missile launcher with no penalty. But it turns out that little squat boys can. Yeah, they only advance 3 inches as well. That's kind of like one of the downsides of playing Votann is they only advance 3 inches and they move 5. But I'll tell you something. If I could roll a dice and always roll a 3+, I'd probably quite like that dice. The fact that you can never roll a 1 or a 2 is arguably better than being able to have a chance of rolling a 4, 5, or 6. It's a very consistent advancing. You are always advancing 8 rather than advancing between 6 and 11. You are always advancing right in the middle, which is very nice. It doesn't matter that you can't advance and shoot. You could move and shoot and no penalty. Like it's very crucial that you realize that Hunter does nothing but has no downside. You know, yeah, they can't shoot. Who cares? Who cares if they can't shoot the advance? Just move and shoot. They all have move and shoot for free. Like, am I missing something? Have I missed something? What do you mean they can't advance and shoot? Who cares? They've got missile launchers that ignore penalties to movement, essentially. You know, the entire army near enough. There's like 5 heavy weapons and they're all crap. So that's like kind of like one kind of busted thing is that their weapons overall do nothing but also have no penalty, you know? The other thing is that I don't really want to go into it because everyone's going into it. The entire army ignores AP1. Well, it ignores an AP. So it all has Armor of Contempt, which is fine. But you also can't reroll the wound or damage roll against them, which is kind of dumb because it is army-wide, including the big land fortress, which has a 2-up save, essentially a 1+ save against AP. And you can't reroll wounds or damage against it, which is very dumb. These lads have void armor. Can you see it? It's around their crotch. It's around their crotch, everyone. So steady advance, as your people have mentioned. You can only advance 3 inches. You don't roll to advance, which is really, really hard done by for the little dwarves. But they also ignore all move characteristics and any or all advance or charge rolls characteristics or modifiers. So they ignore craters and woods when they move or charge. So they aren't slowed down by it. They are still advancing 8 inches straight through woods, whereas a Space Marine is D6 plus D6, 6 plus D6 minus 2, which is an average of 4. So they're maybe moving 10, where you're always moving 8. Wild. But, you know, like, so we've gone over the units, and we've gone over, like, you know, just some of the basic rules, such as Magna Rails and the judgment tokens being really dumb. But it's the fact that they have all this, and they have all really good stratagems as well. You can auto advance an accelerated unit, which is pretty much a vehicle or bikes, and it can just add 12 inches to its movement. The Sagittor moves 12, and it's accelerated. You can make it automatically move 24 inches. You can make the Hecaton Land Fortress accelerated automatically move 22 inches for 1 command point. If you give out a judgment token, the ancestral sentence for 1 CP in the shooting or the fight phase, you can give full rerolls to hit to a unit. And as we mentioned, if you've got a judgment token on a 6 to hit, you automatically wound. You can just make that a 4+ with them enough judgment tokens and reroll all hits. So you roll 4s to hit and reroll everything just for the sake of it. Even if a 3 or 2 hits, you just re-roll all of them because on a 4 you automatically wound. It's very, very dumb. You've also, if you're in combat and you've got a berserk unit, they can re-roll to hit at the same time. For the total cost of 2 CP, you can have 2 full re-rolls to hit and automatically wounding if they have judgment tokens. You've got shooting combat. This is the best one. This is the best stratagem, right? 2 command points. Use this stratagem at the start of your shooting phase. Select 1 Votann infantry or Votann biker unit from your army. Until the end of the phase, models in this unit can make attacks with ranged weapons, even when their unit is within engagement range of enemy units. Wait, the last line. The last line that is absolutely gorgeous. Are you ready? In addition, when a model in this unit shoots a heavy weapon... Now that's very important. Did you hear that, chap? In addition... when the model in this unit shoots a heavy weapon, subtract 1 from the hit rolls when resolving that weapon's attack while enemy units are within engagement range. Who can take heavy weapons in this book? It's basically just tanks, and they get that for free. So you can spend 2 CP to shoot in combat, and the only negative is that you are -1 to hit with heavy weapons, much like you would be if you were a vehicle. But hardly anyone can take heavy weapons but vehicles who get that for free. I don't even know what weapons a Hearthkin warrior, the troop unit, can take, but the infantry, like the profile, there's no heavy weapons here, okay? Maybe there is one hidden away, but on here it's all hunter weapons or pistols, right? Like you can shoot in combat and the penalty. Am I losing my mind? Isn't the railgun the warriors can take heavy? No. Why would it be heavy when it can be hunter weapon type? You know, Magnum rail rifle, hunter 1. I don't think there's an infantry unit in here that can take a heavy weapon. That's what's so funny about that strat. It's just like shooting combat, but no penalty because all our weapons aren't heavy. So I don't even know who suffers -1 from that really, really good stratagem for only 2 command points, shoot in combat without having to fall back, which is nice. But if you didn't want to be -1 to hit, obviously the old lads have fall back and shoot as 1 CP if you are troops, which is also very nice. That is, they have combat surgery for 1 CP, which is a medic unit. So you have to take a medic in the unit, which all Hearthkin units will. You get to add D3 models back to the unit, which is just selfless healer, but D3 rather than 1. So you can shoot in combat. You can fall back and shoot. You can also shoot back in. This is the really, really strong stratagem. This is basically a Horus Heresy reaction. They've been taking tips. You can turn off auras with the multi-wave system jammer as well. 2 CP. Use at the start of any phase, like 1 Votann comms unit. So you need to have comms in the unit, which is obviously an upgrade. So it does cost some points. Then select 1 enemy unit within 12 inches until the end of the phase. That enemy unit cannot be affected by any aura abilities that unit in your opponent's army has. So you can just stop a unit benefiting from anything, right? Anyway, what else do they have? Oh, obviously this army also has, for shield crest unit, particularly, they do have transhuman. Shield crest unit, which is Hearthkin warriors. Of course it is. The infantry. Of course the infantry can transhuman as well. Oh, why not? Oh, if you give the Hearthguard, the in here Hearthguard, the Terminators, a Wayfield crest, they gain the shield crest keyword. They can give everything transhuman. Also, the final one that I wrote down, which I thought was bullshit as well, is the Terminator S, the big chunkers, the exosuit guys, right? They have site-to-site transport, which is, you know, it's exactly like the Blood Angel stratagem on Wings of Fire. Use at the start of your movement phase, select 1 Votann teleportation unit, which is the big smash guy with the big hammer, or the unit of kind of big smash guys, and remove it from the battlefield. In the reinforcement step of this movement phase, this movement phase, you can deep strike them 9 inches away. So the big smash guy who you can tool out to the max, who has the mass hammer, strength ×2, so strength 10 -3, D3 +3 damage, or you can give him the relic because you will all the time. The relic is called Exactor, strength 10 -3, D3 +3 damage, no minus to hit. Why not? It's not even a heavy weapon. It's probably a hunter type. If you roll an unmodified hit roll of a 6, then the target suffers D3 +3 mortal wounds instead of damage. The problem is with Votann is that they not only have the judgment tokens, which as we've discussed, are very, 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 very good. They have really good units. They have weapons that ignore penalties to movement and shooting. They have no downside to shooting them, to moving and shooting. They have no downside to them, except you can't advance and shoot, but you can't advance and shoot with most weapons except for assault weapons, so it's a really null point. You have weapons that have no downsides to them. And then they have some really, really good stratagems as well. So what you get is efficiency from the judgment tokens, efficiency from the stratagems, and then the units are actually pretty good on paper. I think if this book came out and judgment wasn't a thing, this book would still splash the meta very, very hard. I think judgment just takes it over the edge. I think if they took that mechanic away completely, no one would mind, and that would be fine. It just means you take some very different units in the book, because Magnum Rail rifles are one shot and they are inconsistent until you add judgment tokens into it. The fact that you can roll a 6 to wound and ignore in-runs and spill damage, it's fine until you add judgment tokens. And Hunter as a mechanic is fine. It's just when you add everything together, it's a problem. The stratagems are really, really good with hardly any downsides. The warlord traits are all pretty good. The relics are kind of good. The data sheets are pretty good on paper. It's the fact that you add all this together and then put judgment tokens on top, it just gets a little bit unreal. As I said, Magna Rail rifles, Magna Rail cannons, one shot, has a high chance to hit, but if you take a Great Arthurian League, makes you count as double obsec or double models on the objective. If you have a 10 or more wounds, you count as 5, so all your big tanks count as 5 models on objective, which is really strong because the whole game is about holding objectives, right? You take a Magna Rail rifle, it's one shot. You can re-roll a hit or a wound roll. You've now got a one shot that's re-rolling to hit pretty consistently. Your opponent can't stop it unless they turn off re-roll somehow. There's no way you can interact with that. It's no command point spent. It's just a free re-roll to hit. And then if it was just a 6 to wound, like an unmodified 6 to wound, which is how the rules are written, if an unmodified 6 to wound spills damage, that's totally fine. It's the fact that judgment tokens make it an automatic 6 to wound when you roll a 4+ to hit, or 5+ or 6+ if you have less tokens. It's just like Hail of Doom was a problem. The 6 to hit automatically wounds and counts as a 6. That was a problem. The way they fixed that is they nerfed everything else around it. So Hail of Doom is kind of good, but it's not quite as good anymore. But the fact that they have this and everything else is ridiculous. And the fact that you can bump it to a 4+ to hit, a 4+. So roll 2 dice. How often are you going to roll a 4 up, right? Like, how often are you going to roll 2 dice in a game and one of them be a 4 or more, right? And then if you take the Great Arthurian League, which is very good for holding objectives, it counts. It has a reroll, and it also counts your judgment tokens as 1 higher as long as they've got 1. So you have minimum 2, 0, 2, or 3. It doesn't matter. It's just kind of stupid. And on paper, it looks very dumb. On paper, it looks very, very dumb, and I think a lot of people are in agreement, and I think a lot of people who have talked about it have been a little bit too lax and just said, you know what, mortal wounds can kill them, yeah, that's fine, but not every army can bring mortal wounds. Yeah, Thousand Sons are pretty good at doing mortal wounds. Grey Knights are kind of good at mortal wounds. Those two armies are known for being kind of bad right now and kind of struggling in the meta, but if they could deal with the one army that everyone else struggles with. And then you have Tyranids, who are really good at doing mortal wounds, but Tyranids are also a problem, so we're just throwing a problem at a problem and getting more problems for everyone else who plays the one game of Warhammer 40,000. It's that you have 3 potential armies that might be able to deal with Leagues of Votann on paper, but it doesn't matter because just those 3 armies can deal with it and no one else can. So that must mean the Codex is fine, maybe. I don't know. I'm probably quite salty. I probably sound quite salty, but it's just a shame because I think this army's cool and I'd like to play it, but I don't want to be that guy every time I play a casual game with some funny dwarves who play in a setting of Warhammer 40k. I want to be able to just play armies and not have to worry about the basic rules of the army are quite oppressive before I even roll any dice. Like, yeah, it's just kind of a dumb codex, and it's a real shame that it's just putting a dampener on probably most casual people because they want to play their new army, and then as soon as they start playing their new army, they're going to crush all their friends, and their friends are going to be pissed off, and they're not going to have a good time either.